everyone. How's everyone doing? I hope you're enjoying all the panels and everything that's happening so far. Welcome to Witchcraft, the craftiest portion of the event, at least for this afternoon. But hi, everyone. So I was really excited about this one. The idea of like crocheting witch hats has kind of been in the back of my mind for a while, and with some help with a kind soul from the last panel and a link to some millinery wire, I was ready to take the plunge. So this is the result. It's pretty easy to do. We can do it in under an hour and a half, and I'm pretty excited about that because if you're late to a meet or anything, an event, and you have an hour and a half bus ride, you can bust one of these out, and you'll be all set to go when you're there. So yeah, I have a video that basically goes through the process because, as you can see, this time of year, there's a good chance we would lose light. So if you need me to stop or go over anything that is on the video that you can't quite catch, like how to do a certain stitch or anything, just stop me and or pop up in the chat, and then hopefully somebody, I think it's Haley that is being my ghost for this panel, can ping me if I don't see it, and then we can go from there. So yeah, how's everyone doing? And I guess we'll go through supplies really quick. So the video covers this hat right here, which we won't be making the little things on it. I just kind of threw those on so you could see just what you could do. My bird's saying it's bedtime already. This is amazing. So this is out of the same cotton that we were using in the last panel with the headdresses. So this is just sugar and cream, easy to find, not that expensive. On sale, sometimes you can get it for like $1.99. Not bad. So it looks pretty nice. It's got a nice solid stitch. You can see with the pattern, it's pretty organized, and it holds a good shape. Like you can, I have the rest of the yarn stuffed inside, but on its own, you can pretty much do the droop on your own, and it holds it, which is, what everyone wants. I don't know what that song is. If anyone knows what that is, that'd be neat. We didn't teach it to him; he just learned it somewhere. Okay, so anyway, hat. It also works great in this one here is what is it, Heartland, Lion Brand Heartland. It's kind of tweedy. It's got like a nice look to it, so it works really well in that one too. This one is a really cheap, it's like a soft, it's just like called soft and shiny or something, from Loops, I think it's Loops and Threads. So yeah, it worked nicely in that one too. There's a slightly different border on this one that was kind of an experiment. It takes longer, so I didn't use it for this panel for the pattern, but if you guys are interested, I can write one up and then you guys can see it. It's basically like a leaf that comes off of the points of the hats. And then, yeah, I just stuck stuff on with pins, so there's that. And then the basic pattern can still be enlarged. So basically you just keep going in the base pattern for the hat for a longer section, and then you add more rings to the brim, and you can get a larger version. Yeah. So this one I only finished recently, so I don't have that many cord pictures with it. Again, I just have the ball stuck in the top because I haven't decided if I'm keeping the lighting, that edging yet or not, but or if I'm going to add anything to it. So the strings are still on here. But this is using a millinery wire. It's a full size hat. So like it's big. Putting a hat on a hat, it works out. And yeah, it's the same pattern with a couple small adjustments, like adding these baubles. You can just plug those right into the stitches that exist on the pattern, and you're good to go. So the pattern is written with all of these things, just the basic single crochet and double crochet stitches. I did add the baubles for the edging because it's a little hard to figure out where it's best to put those when you're going on your own for the first time. But feel free to alter this as much as you want. Like you can just substitute anything in for what is that? Oh, some of my hair came out. Substitute any stitch in that fits within a single crochet or a double crochet section, and you'll be good. So yeah, okay. Well, let's get going before we lose too much time, and I will play this video. Okay. All right. So that's the yarn we were starting with. And for this hat specifically, because it's sugar and cream, I find that that yarn has a tendency to like be bigger when you stitch it up. So I'm using a slightly smaller hook. I'm using an H instead of an I. Normally I like to use the I, which is this pink one, but the H is my neat, what is that, teal one? As you can see, this is a different, these are I hook, H hook, and they're pretty close to the same size. So yeah, you start out with a magic ring, and I have a link in the pattern, which can be found on the supplies page, to how to do a magic ring. If you haven't done one of those the first time, it might be a little complicated, but they're great. They're really forgiving. You can make that little hole in the center as tight as you want it, and that helps get that really fine point to the top of the hat. Because as you can see, it's you know, you want it to be a point. You don't want it to be round, for reasons you might see later. But yeah, so you start with a magic ring, and then you do 6 double crochets into that magic ring. The key with the magic ring is to remember that the first loop that you do isn't the first stitch. You do a half loop, you do 2 chains with that loop, and then you start the first double crochet, and that's the one you count. You don't count any of the other ones beforehand. And I've got a small snafu here. So there you go. The 6 double crochets are finished. You pull that really tight, and then you find that first double crochet stitch at the top there, and that's where you're going to slip stitch into. You don't want to slip stitch into the top of the chain. That'll increase your stitches by 1 every time. So do it at the top of the first double crochet. And I can't see your comments, so I should move things around here. All right. Yeah, my bird is definitely saying it's bedtime. You might actually come over here and start saying it's bedtime in my face. So yeah, then the next row is just single crochets all around. You don't add any stitches, so it'll just be 6 single crochets. And another one with this one, I find that I do have to keep count. It's not that bad if you mess up and add an extra stitch or not. You can always come in another stitch before the brim, or add another stitch or whatever you need to adjust. The main point is to make sure you're the right number of stitches going in from the bottom of the point of the hat to the top of the brim. So that would be, it's the last set of single crochets that you do in the point section. And I'm not sure if my chat froze or not, so hopefully everything's okay there. Can you guys actually hear him? He's really going. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what this song is. I wish I knew the name because I could look it up. But like the only place I've ever heard it was like in Spaceballs, and that's definitely not a place to find, like, you won't know what this song is. All right, and then you at the end of that single crochet, I mean, it is bird ASMR. He's got some great ASMR. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this. Wow, it is. Can you believe this? He did it. He did it. All right. So yeah, you'll be slip stitching at the end of every row. And you'll always be doing that into either the first single crochet or the first double crochet when you end that row. You don't want to slip stitch into the chain pretty much ever in this thing. You can do it at the very, very end, but that's a different thing and we'll get there. And that applies differently too. So yeah, I'm just continuing on. This is kind of the boring part of the pattern because you're just like chugging away with these singles and double crochets. Yeah, I haven't tried this in thicker yarns yet, but I imagine it should be fine. The thickest I've gotten to was this. I realized I hadn't tried it in like Red Heart Super Saver. So I have this like unreasonably thicker than usual Red Heart Super Saver. And this was using, I think I actually went up to a J hook maybe for this one just because it was so thick and it was making it really tight. So you can see the size differences, you know, just between like one hook can get really big. But like I haven't done the brim on this one because I might not have enough yarn. But it is definitely holding its point. So the thicker the yarn you have when you go to a bigger hat, the easier time it will have standing up on its own. Some of the other yarns, I've got a thin one here, also with a really bad brim wire. This was something I ordered off of Amazon. I'm not recommending ordering millinery wire off of Amazon because you tend not to get what you're really hoping for. So yeah, as you can see, if it's doing that under its own weight, that's probably not good. And especially if it does this, if you move it, that's not gonna it's not gonna cut it at all. So that's just gonna be a placeholder for now. But you can see at least with the brim, this is the same exact double crochet and single crochet pattern. I just added in some bobbles here and there when I was doing it. That does not affect the stitch count. But at that point, it starts to lose its point integrity, like around, say, around here, just because of the nature of the yarn. It's a little thinner. It's very slick actually. And it's bedtime again. It's bedtime. So in a case like this, if you want that point to be able to be stiff, you can just add an insert. I would just make one out of like interfacing, or if you have really whatever you have. If you have a stiff like a duck fabric, that'll work. Obviously, there's some cases where it'll be stronger versus other, but the good chance is that you have something. You don't need to be really specific. You don't have to get exactly, you know, buckram. You don't have to be that specific. If you have like a thick felt, even just use that, and you can take it in and out. It'll be easier to like replace that if it gets really dirty or something. Like if you get, I don't know, hair gel or something on it. I tend not to wear hair gel, so I don't know. But yeah, it will you know, just put that in there. You can also switch it from hat to hat. Only have one. And he said, wow. He will be right back, apparently. Bye-bye. Quiet. Whoops. Anyway, so yeah, are there any questions so far? I mean, this is pretty basic so far. Peekaboo. It's not peekaboo time, Banner. So hopefully there aren't. Hopefully Twitch is behaving, and I can see all you guys. There he goes again. But yeah, these were really fun to do. Wait, what is it? Colonel Boogie March. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. That might be it. All right. Because yeah, I don't know where he learned this. Actually, there's a couple things. We didn't teach him peekaboo either. He learned that on his own too. So I don't know. I don't know where he learned some of these things. It's kind of great though, because he's just like peekaboo, and we're like, oh, peekaboo. Yeah, magic rings do take some practice. luckily, they're not very involved. You can do them with either stitch. I guess if you've never done one before, try it with a single crochet first. If we have time at the end, I can try to go over some of those specifically. But I can, hopefully you guys can see this. It might be hard doing this backwards. So magic ring, you start with the yarn, you kind of loop it over like that. I'm doing this in reverse, so this should be right for you guys. And then this is gonna be interesting. You, yeah, okay. So, yeah, all right. So you reach into the inner loop. You grab the tail of the yarn, and you start to pull that out, but you don't pull everything into a slip knot. You grab, okay, you grab your yarn, however you like to do your tension. You get that started, so it's like, it's all weird. This is weird. Okay, so you get started like that. So this is not your first stitch. This is also not your first stitch, that little chain I just did. This, however, you reach back in through the middle of the loop, and you grab the yarn, you yarn over, you pull that through, and I totally twisted myself, I think. But you pull that through, and that'll be your first single crochet. And let me do that again, because I think that doing this in reverse is a little weird. Okay, yarn over. Here, maybe you guys can see this, even though it's like, okay, yarn over, reach through, grab that, then I get set up here. Okay, yarn over, pull that through. That's not your first stitch. Reach in through the middle of the magic ring, grab the yarn, come through, then yarn over and do your first single crochet. And then that's your first single crochet. And then, you know, do however many single crochets. So if you're having trouble doing this with the double crochets, which I'll do in a second, you can start the pattern with 3 single crochets in that center magic ring. And you pull that really, really, really tight. And then do, you'll have to slip stitch in the first single crochet, which is a little tight. So I'm not sure if I recommend that unless you just cannot manage to do the double crochets in the ring. And then you would do 2 double crochets in each stitch as you go around to get back to your 6, and then go from there. So yeah, if you can't do the double crochets, don't worry about it. Try that instead. So the double crochets, same thing. Loop, magic ring, bring that over. So instead, in the beginning, when you start, you do that 1 chain to start the thing. You know, I don't know if you can see that if it's washed out. Okay, you do that 1 chain to start the thing. You do a 2nd chain to get up to the height of what a double crochet is. And then you yarn over, go through that loop, grab the yarn, and then start that first double crochet. So it's basically the same thing. It's not that hard. It just, if you haven't practiced, sometimes it's a little daunting, and that's totally cool. But you know, I actually find it's a little easier with double crochet than single crochet. So yeah, good luck. Definitely practice it. It's so much better than like making a chain and then stitching into that. You can get nice control over like the tightness of that ring that you want. And you can tighten it right at the beginning. You could also tighten it at the end. So if you don't want to deal with that being all closed at the beginning, you can wait till the end to tighten it all up. The only thing to watch out for is if you have to undo your yarn and you've made it really, really tight, sometimes it lands in a knot and you might not be able to get that undone, and you'll just have to cut off whatever yarn you left on the end, which can waste yarn, which if you don't want to do, you know, But the other hand, it's just wasting a couple of 6 inches of yarn. You could, not that I'm condoning hoarding or anything, like you could just save that all in a cup and then use it to stuff like some amigurumi or something later. And bird flying away. Okay. Hi, Banner. He is he's a really good flyer. We have to watch out. So yeah. So if you guys are doing okay, we're about halfway through the point here. Let's see, I am probably at, okay, that looks like I'm about at the row of 18 stitches on the point of the hat. So you keep doing that, and everything is in a multiple of 3, the first, for the point of the hat. You start with 6, you go up to 9, then 12, etc. And your single crochets will always be the same number as the double crochets of the row before. So it's an easy way to check to make sure that you have the right number of stitches, because I space out all the time, and I forget how many stitches I have. Okay. I wonder if he made himself tired, or if he's like eating a secret pumpkin. Hopefully he's not eating one of the pumpkins. Okay. So let me see. Did you guys need any explanation on the chart at all? I had to try to squeeze that in, but I hope it makes sense. That doing the point flat was a little weird, so I had to kind of splay it out, but I hope it made sense. He loves pumpkin. I love giving him pumpkin because he just goes crazy, but he will go through the entire pumpkin in no time, and he makes the biggest mess, and then he doesn't want to take a bath, and he wants to wear the pumpkin for the next 2 weeks, and that's not exactly good for him. But yeah, it's also getting colder, and he doesn't want to take baths when it's cold. When it's warm in the summer, baths all the time, but in the winter he's like, no, don't touch me. Actually, I'm a little worried about. Let me. Hopefully. I know. Yeah, I've tried to crochet. Actually, he wasn't too afraid of me like holding a hat and putting it down over him. But I'm still working on harness training him. So he'll put his head through the harness, but he doesn't want anything to do with that after that. So like I'm trying to get him used to the harness weight being on him, and it's such a slow process. It's been like the entire pandemic just getting to that point. So if I can ever manage to get a hoodie on him and get him to walk outside, I know he'd have the time of his life, because he definitely wants to go out there. But yeah, one thing at a time for sure. don't want to go too fast, especially with him. He's a bit fickle. So yeah, and then with these small hats, so I don't wear wigs, so I usually I just like bobby pin them into my hair. I can only imagine that it's probably easy enough to do that into a wig too. So like I'll just put a bobby pin through, like it's usually best through some of the single crochet stitches right here, because it's pretty stable. But really, wherever you find a space and wherever it works on your hairstyle or your wig is fine. You can do that. What I have right here is just being held on with like a headband, and I just went. I'll show this here. I just went in through like one space, like if you can see that, like right there, and then out through the space in the double crochets on one side, and then same thing on the other side. Just pop that through, and that way you can adjust, like, do you want it really far back, do you want it like really forward? Just because this is easier to see for you guys, I'll put it like here. Yeah, so that's like right around where the brim turns into the point. And you just pop it back out another set of stitches, and it's barely visible on the top. You can hide that with like, stick a bow over it. And then you just, that's not going anywhere once it's on your head. So that's probably the easiest thing to do, in my opinion. And then since you have a wire in the brim, you can like taco it, or you can like do what's the thing that people like, the is there a name for that specific type of thing. You know, you can do whatever you want, and the bigger the head is, you can do that too. With that, uh, like this one, when it gets finished, I guess I could finish that right now. It would probably be about another right about to there. So like that would be enough that you can like maybe just barely get over. Let's see here. It might be a little small, but this was more of an experiment. Um, so yeah, just stick anything you want on there. Um, yeah, yeah. Like just if you're like confused about like if you feel something doesn't feel like enough, just fill it in. It's fine. Do it till you're satisfied. That's the most important thing. Like yeah, this one's just on a headband, I think. Yeah, there it is. You can see it right there. I haven't covered it with anything but panel. Um, so yeah, uh, and well, we're still going. Maybe I'm talking really fast too. That seems to be just a theme for this one. Everyone just sort of barrels through their stuff really quick. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna crochet along this one, and then I can get to the complicated stuff at the end, and you guys can see. Hopefully, there's still enough light where it gets complicated, and that way, if I have any questions, I can show you. So I will do that. I need a wire, which of course I didn't bring over with me. Well, hi you guys, by the way. I loved your panels. That was a good panel. I'm so hungry after watching your panel. I haven't made anything for the tea yet tomorrow, but I'm definitely thinking of what am I gonna do. Oh yeah, sorry about this. This I think I got something caught, so I had to go off camera. Thank you. I would love that. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I now that people are vaccinated, things are happening. I'm just really encouraged that things are working out so well with at least that portion of it. So yeah, it feels a little surreal that things are back together, at least in a sort of pseudo way. So I'm happy about that. My next goal is to get my flu shot. So yeah, everyone get your flu shot. Yeah, we're pretty lucky here. So okay. Well, if you guys want, I guess I can fast forward, but you know, I can also not in case you guys want to go back to actually watch the video later, because it's the whole hat. Yeah, flu shots are important, and usually they're free or very cheap, which is very good. Ooh, you got your flu shot and a booster at the same time. I like that. Okay, okay, that makes sense because they want one to take effect. Was it the flu shot first and then the COVID, or were we able to get COVID first? Because I'm curious how that works. Let's see. That's so cool. Okay, both, I did separate patterns for the small one and for the large one just to keep it all straight. If you guys have any questions on the patterns and how they work, let me know. And if you don't have a chance to watch this panel, if you're watching it later, like hit me up in either Discord or, I mean, you can message me on IG. I'm being better about being on that more frequently now. This summer I had to kind of just like take a break. I was very tired. But yeah, just let me know if there's any questions, you know, or if I said anything confusing. But it was kind of a adventure making these, and the fact that you know if you can crochet your own witch hat, you can make it in any color. You can find that really difficult color of yarn that's very close to that dress. Which, by the way, if you're trying to match Holy Lantern lavender, it is super difficult. But there are two yarns that are pretty much its color. One of them's by I think it's Karen Simply Soft. Yeah, it is. It's Karen Simply Soft, and it's called like Lavender Blue. And then the other one is called. It's by I think it's Soft and Shiny by Loops and Thread, and it's oh, what's it called? It's like Lavender Fields or something like that. I can find the link. The Loops and Threads one I think is like totally discontinued, but the Simply Soft one I think is still out there. It's just in really small quantities because everything's supply issues right now. So, but it's out there. It exists, and it's the only one I've seen that actually has that color. Yes, it is totally possible to do two types of yarns in one hat, and you can do that however you want. Actually, I I should have brought that over here. So I find the easiest place to change colors is like close to the end of a row, but you can do it however. Like if you're just doing the single and double crochets, I mean, you can just choose where you want to have. Wait, I have a great example. Hold on. Okay. All right. So this is on another hat because it's just I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do like the wiring and all that kind of stuff. But so this is using like 5 different types of yarn and changing the stitches all over the place. It was also trying to use up scraps and everything. But as you can see here in this part, I just started with one type of yarn. Yeah, this is the big boy. I wasn't really thinking. I was just like making it up as I go. But yeah, this was one type of yarn. This is another type of yarn that I modified to make it look like it is. And then you switched here. So this was just changing it into chunks. So you do a bunch of rows, you drop, you go to a new yarn, you do a bunch of rows and you change to a new yarn. This is a little more complicated. This is you're carrying 2 yarns as you're going. So I hope he's not very loud right now. He's going off. But and because you're doing the increases, you kind of have to sneak in um, like things to make the stripes stay even. So I just have like on one side and the other side, so you can see. You know, you mostly pay attention to the stripes. Um, so this one, you're carrying the other color yarn as you're going, and I stitch over it at the very like bottom just to keep the yarn organized. Um, and then same thing here. I was switching yarns a whole bunch. In retrospect, I actually wish I had stayed with this gradient the entire way instead of like doing this stuff down here. But whatever, it's done now. It's not the worst, but I kind of fell in love with this, realizing later that this is my favorite part. But yeah, these are just switching yarns again as you're going. And then these baubles here are the same things as the bauble on the hat over there. And that's a regular bauble, which I can also show you how to do. But yeah, same thing here. These bits, I was crocheting. I finished the point row, and then I made these. These are just shells of different types. And then I went back in with the other yarn. Let's see if you can see this. And I stitched through basically the spaces that were left over on the other side of the yarn. I might be really hard to see. Maybe if I can get the light. So that's another way you can change colors is by, if you can see that there. Wait, we can do this. Okay, that works there. There. So like, that's, you know, with crochet, you can kind of just sneak stuff in if you're careful about it. So like that, I went in on the back of the yarn and then continued from there. So it's still one continuous piece. You can see it kind of picks up a little bit, but I like the transition that it's doing there. And I was just playing with stitches. Like there were so many times I did something and I didn't like it and I took it out, but like you're just, you know, like making stuff up as you go. So you can really just, you know, do your imagination with this kind of thing. And then, yeah, I have to figure out how I want the wire to go in. So this is not done yet, but I'm probably going to need 2 wires, to be honest, like one to hold the curve of the brim and then another one to like do these points. So I'll probably have 2 wires that are bound together. except at the point where they come apart and then support that and then go back in. So yeah, this is what happens when it's cold out and it's wintertime and it's dark at 4 p.m. and you just want to stay under a blanket because everything else is just kind of like sad. Oh, my chair's on my hair. Pardon me. Ow. Okay. All right. I have a bad habit of finishing my crafts like 95% and then never doing the last bit. But this is okay. Yeah, I hope you do finish. I share your pain. I also have that suffer from that affliction. Which you know, if you want someone to be accountable with, I'm happy to join you on that. But yeah, like I hope you finish your crafts. Like, there's nothing more exciting than like getting something done, and then you're like, I have this. I did it. I can do it again. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't do it again, but you want to do it again, and you can do it again because you know how to do it. But yeah, I hope you do. Like, and you know, when you finish stuff, like, feel free to post it. Like, you don't have to tag me, but like, just post it online. I'm curious to see what people are making. It's awesome. I love seeing what people make. It's so cool. But yeah, so you can do as many kinds of yarns as you want. You can also change, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm thinking of making something for a gift for somebody. So without spoilers, when you get to the brim, I'm thinking of, so this is weird. No, I think it is running. Okay. When you get to the brim, there's these baubles here. So these technically come, and we haven't gotten there on the video yet, but you'll see it soon. These technically come from the single crochet row here. So you're working the single crochets, then you start doing a bunch of yarns over, and then you go to the bar of the double crochet of the row below, and you work around that. So it pulls all the yarn down a whole row, and it creates this big raised like motif, which when the shell is placed right over it like that, it sort of becomes a unified, like a unified thing. There, now you can see it. So those are really useful. You can do those in a different color and have your single crochet rows be in a different color, but this color will reach forward and across your double crochet color. So you can change colors that way and have it like kind of morph into the next color, which is what is happening on the big hat. So the light hates me. Okay, if you can see, like, here's a good example right there. So the interesting, like, variegated yarn. I don't know what this is. It was kind of part of a bundle that somebody was moving, and they're like, here. So this yarn reaches up into this color, does the same thing. This is coming from this row, but it's reaching up here. This one coming from this row is reaching up here. So it helps like, you know, change the color kind of slowly that way. Okay. I thought they were pom-poms. I mean, you could do pom-poms. You can just make pom-poms and sew them in after. Oh, I forgot the strawberry hat. Okay, if there's time at some point, if I have to get up or if there's like a giant thing of lag, I'll go grab that. But 6th I mean, yeah, you could just make some pom-poms and sew them into the hat afterwards. Would just, you know, put the thread on a needle at the end of the pom-pom and then just like sew it into the stitches, go on the inside, tie it off, bury the stitches. I mean, if you have like if you have one of those the Alice in the Pirates like circus prints or something, you could do a whole row of pom-poms up the top. You could do a very short brim, have one of those like jester style hats. You can do a bunch of pom-poms around it. Pom-poms off the edge of the wire, I guess. I don't know. You know, the sky's the limit on that. And if you don't want to sew anything in, you know, I'm a big fan of like things that are adjustable and customizable. You know, if you have any bows or anything, you could just shove a this is a hairpin, not a bobby pin, but it gets the idea. You could just sort of shove that through that, you know, like that, and then just shove it into the stitching. And as long as you're not too forceful, as long as you're not like gouging the stitches, it'll be fine. So, you know, instant accessories. Um, yeah, hopefully you can't hear Banner. Oh, I got to the brim on that. So the key with the brim is when you finish your last row of single crochets on the point part of the hat, it should be like, with this pattern, it'll be 27 single crochets as you go around. If you keep going, it'll be a different number. The easiest numbers to end on are multiples of 9, so either 36 or 45, etc. But if you don't end on that, that's fine. I have a note in the larger pattern on how to adjust for that. But on this one, I ended at 27. And so when you get to when you start the brim, you basically change from that multiple. So, you know, you're doing sets of, it's technically multiples of 3, but like it's 3 sections of 9 at the bottom. Instead, you're sectioning off the 3 stitches. So you'll be doing 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then 3 and 4 in the same stitch, and then 5 in the next one, 6 in the next one, 7 and 8 in the next stitch. So you end up increasing that 27 to 36. And then again, the next row will be single crochets, increasing to 45. And that change from going from 3 increases a row to 9 increases a row is what really gets it to go from a point to a flat section. And because you're doing double crochets, you want that, like 9 is a lot kind of for doing a disc, but because you have double crochets coming up, you want that extra bit. Plus, you know, flatter hats with more rooms to bend around are better. At least I feel so. So yeah, it'll be those 2 single crochets followed by the double crochet row, and there's only one of them in the small hat pattern. That's all you really need. When you go to bigger hats, so this poor guy, I'm gonna save this hat. Don't worry, it's so sad. This one has only 4 rows because I was trying to see how much would fit off of one skein of this stuff, and it turns out not a lot. So I could only fit 4 rows, and then the crochet edging. But when you're making the larger brim, you do want to keep the pairs of single crochet and double crochets together. So, you know, when you're increasing numbers of rows, you want to plan to have the double crochet followed by the single crochet, because it just helps the shape be a little more organized, and it gives you the room to do like added baubles or something if you want to, which you have all this, you know, brim room, you might as well use it. But yeah. And then the bigger hat, this is an example of 6. This is 6 rows. So like you can see from the bottom, 6 rows is nice and big. And there's no reason, like, you know, the stitching's all nice and everything underneath, but there's no reason that you can't go and sew anything in under that. Like if you want gathered chiffon underneath it, go for it. You know, I would measure by the outermost circumference, and try that first. The easiest thing would just be to gather the inside ring into what fits, and then sew that down, and then, you know, maybe add like a few inches to the fabric so that it has something to gather. But you know, go by this measurement. Don't go by that measurement. That's bad. But yeah, you can sew anything you want to the underside. So if you don't like the look of this, just, you know, sew whatever you want to under there. And yeah, from what somebody was saying before, these baubles here are made with a smaller yarn. This is a finer cotton yarn that I just have a ton of. So I was like, I'll try this. And so I actually used a smaller hook to make all these baubles. To be small, I used what is this? Used an F to make these smaller, but I carried the yarn underneath the single crochet stitches here just to keep that like kind of hidden. And you don't have to. I mean, you can especially on the point, you can just drag it behind and have them sitting out there. But be careful, especially if you're gonna like leave it open, because it's easy to have things get caught back there. And then this is just pinned in because I didn't have time. But if you want to add a little lace or something on the edges, this is the extra lace. So shh, don't say anything. But oh, there's some tissue. But yeah, here's just like the extra lace, just for the presentation. But you can see it's just easy to just add lace like on the bottom, however you feel looks best. And you just, once you have that pinned down, personally what I do is I sew into it. Like I actually do 2 rounds usually of basting stitches, and I catch each double crochet or each single crochet that is right behind the wire as I go, and I kind of fit the edging into the bottom of that stitch so that it just sort of snugs in. And you know, it's on the bottom of the hat, especially the small ones, they sit up there. You don't really see, but it gives it a nice little plate. And I lost all the bows I put on this when I turned it over. But there you go. So the Blue Angels have kind of, Banner has noticed them, and he has been very loud all weekend. Which is great. I love my loud boy, but hopefully it's not too bad for your guys' ears on the corner, or the what do you call the other side? Yeah, it's so much beeping. It's just beep. Just beep, beep, beep. I think it started with the microwave, honestly, and then because he'll do the microwave, and then he just noticed that this one was louder, and so he's like, I'm going to do the loud one. Hopefully, he won't get louder. It's a little tough. Yeah. So with the video, I'm still on the double crochet row. So I'm actually right about here, in that same pattern. So I'm getting to the point where I think I can pick up, and then you guys might have questions on how this goes, but I wanted to keep this pattern simple, you know, and not do complicated like weavings and anything. 1, because of time, and 2, just because I figure if you have the basic math, then you can alter it whichever way you want. You know, if you have any like stitch that you like that works off of double crochets or single crochets, you can just substitute that in there. Especially if say it's something that uses like, you know, if it uses 2 stitches, you could just do the 2 stitches and then not do the pattern on the increase. And then I think that would 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that would leave 1 stitch left over, but you could, you know, you could adjust that however you need it. You could put like a single crochet stitch to even it out, since you'll have the increase. Beep, 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 beep. He's just going. Okay, so now we're getting ready for the wire. The wire is a little complicated, and if you've never stitched around something, it could take some practice. So I'm just using craft wire here because the millinery wire hadn't come yet. It actually came like 2 days ago. So you know, I wish I had like a more stiff gauge on it. Don't use something too stiff for the small hats because it can get really hard to work with. But you also don't want something too weak. So probably, I mean, feel your hands. I think it'll be different for everybody because of, you know, everybody's personal hand strength. But if you're at the store and you can bend it super easily, maybe don't go with that wire. Go for one that gives a little resistance when you try. If you have any scrap wire, this uses only 20 inches, and you might be a little bit less. You might need a little bit more if you're really big on your gauge, but you know, I've been using 20 inches for this, and sometimes I've been cutting a bit off at the end. So yeah, if it feels, you know, if you have leftover stuff, you know, do that. If it's really weak, maybe do 2 wires if you have that much. But yeah, anything that if you can use what you have versus buying anything, I'm happy to help troubleshoot that because I prefer that too myself. So I don't have a wire on me. How did I forget that? But okay, so when you stitch, I wonder if there's something I can use here. Wow. Okay, I will use this headband. All right, I'll just use this other thread as an illustration. When you're stitching around wire, you just hold it behind. Actually, hey, sweetie, there's a coil of wire on my sewing table. Can you bring it over? Hey, thank you. All right, everyone, please give a shout out to my partner here because he is fantastic and really helpful.
The old stuff?
Yeah, that's fine. I just need like a placeholder. Oh, okay. But I guess it'll work too. Sure. Thank you. That's fine. Thanks a lot, hon. Okay, so this is like not the greatest wire, but it'll work for showing you guys what's going on. Let me just measure out an approximate. Okay, that's plenty right there. Okay, so wire. Generally, when I'm doing these, I like to get some sort of. This wire won't fit with these, but these are joiners for millinery wire. These are great since they're sized to fit with millinery wire, and you know, they will definitely hold. So what you do is you slip the end of the millinery wire into that, and then you crimp it down with like a pair of good pliers. You want to do that when you have both sides of the millinery wire in the joiner. You don't want to crimp it down and then try to get the other side in there, and then like you know, it won't go in very well. So you'll put two sides of it in, and then you'll crimp it down really like good and solidly with a pair of wires. But with this cruddy wire, I've been using these old drink stirrers for hot beverages, the little straw ones. And then I've been using some glue to just like hold it in place. I don't want to wait for the glue to set up, so I'm just going to cut this guy in half. Not with my nice scissors. There. And I'm just going to use this as a placeholder. So that might stay on, that might not, we'll see. So yeah, crocheting around a wire. That, when you get to that row, you take the wire and you hold it. I need to do my chain one first. Okay, end of the row, chain one to get to the next row. Wire, you hold it right against the back of the stitch that you're going to be stitching into. And then I'll be stitching that same first stitch that I did the chain one from. You go into that, you reach, I hope this makes sense and you can see it. You reach around the wire and your crochet, you grab the wire, you come right back up, and you could do your first single crochet that way. So you can do two of those because that's how many you need to get to the first bobble. And once you get two, it starts to be pretty secure. You can kind of like relax with how you're holding it. I usually just hold the wire in place with the very back of my palm here. That's kind of how I control it. It might be different for you, but that's what I find works. And then for the bobble, which I'll do these a few times, you start by yarning over once, and I'll do it from the back since you guys can see that easy from here, and then I'll do it from the front. You reach around that bar of the single crochet. Wait, it's that finger I need to move. You reach around the bar from that single crochet. You reach up and you grab the yarn. You pull that through under the bar and back up. You grab the yarn again. You go over, and this part's a little finicky. Instead of pulling it through or anything, you reach back under the bar again, and then you grab another loop, and then you pull that through again. You can do it one more time. Reach under, and if you don't want to be very tight on these pulls because it makes it pretty difficult when you get to that last one. But you do that there, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and your original loop on the hook there. And then you yarn over the last time. And this is a little tough, but if you go slow and be patient, you pull that through all except the last loop, and then you yarn over and you pull it through for the last time. I will try to do that from as many angles as I can so that you guys can see that. And then the next stitch that you stitch into is a little hard to see. It's that one right there. So it kind of tucks itself in behind the stitch you just did, but I'm going to try to poke my nail through it so you can see. It's this one. Hi. That's the next single crochet. So you single crochet there, and then do another single crochet, and then you kind of get to the corner of where the increase was from the row below, and you'll see the 2 double crochets right there that are a little V. In that one, I like to do 1 single crochet, chain 2. It's going to make a loop so that we can find out a lot easier later, and then a second single crochet in that same stitch. So you get like this this kind of little cluster here, and that finishes like 1 section, and that will repeat 9 times around the brim. So the next one, you start again with 2 single crochets. Hold on, chaos. Okay, 2 single crochets. That's 1. Here's the second single crochet. This is all around the wire. The only one that's not around the wire is the bobble, because it's really hard to do. So, I just skip it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not really that visible at the end. And the chains don't go around the wire because they kind of come up and off. But all the single crochets are around the wire, and that holds the wire right, in nicely. Okay. So, this one's hard to do with the camera. But I tried to do them very visibly on the video. So if you have problems, look at the video. So I'll do this again. Yarn over, reach down, go around that first bar like that. Grab the yarn, pull it through, and be decently loose. Grab the yarn again. This is the tricky part. Reach from over to the back, and then through the front again. Grab that yarn again, pull that through, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So one more time. Grab the yarn. There you go. Come over and around. Through that, I hope you guys saw that, through that bar. Grab the yarn and pull that through. And there, yarn over one last time and pull those through again, and one more through. It's okay to take those one at a time if you need to. Don't worry about it. And I find if I pull this one tight as I'm going through that last bit and the others have been made loose enough, I should get through without too much problem. And then you do the final yarn over and then pull everything through. And that makes the top of the stitch that you'll be stitching into later. And then that next single crochet is tucked right back there. So you grab that single crochet, next normal single crochet, and then the single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet at the top of the last part in that section. And you keep going that way. Crochet is fun. It's a lot of math, but I mean, it's kind of like Legos. You're like building things with all these different shape stitches, and they'll have places where they can go, but you can kind of fudge it a little and, you know, start going off on a weird direction, bring it back in. Doesn't hurt as much if you step on them. Actually, it does hurt if you step on a crochet hook. Don't do that. That is not recommended. No pain. Actually, crafts. What is crafts without pain? Who am I kidding? Okay. So let's see. All right. So in that video there, I think I'm finally on the edging. Let me see here. Okay, no, I just finished the single crochet rows. So with the small hats, because I can, I was waiting until the end of the row to because I'm never quite sure how big the hat's going to end up being, and you have less wiggle room when you have a smaller hat. So you know you don't want to have it so stretched out that the brim is like crushing. You know, it's like at max tension. You just want to have enough stretching that it's like a happy little brim, and you see all the stitches. So once I'm at the end, I usually wait until usually around the last section, which for me would be right here. And then I would see how much is left over. I would test fit that, you know, by putting the other end in there and seeing like just how much is like say if that much is how much it fits, then I would clip off the wire here and then fit that in. And with these ones, I put glue just because this isn't designed to be together. It just needs a little help. But if you're using millinery wire in the crimper, you should be fine. That crimp is usually pretty strong. So once that's together and you stitch over the last bit, then you can start the shell edging. And I guess I can back up, or I can bust this out really quick. So the shell edging is pretty simple. It's just a bunch of, everyone calls these parts differently. There's treble crochet, there's triple crochet, there's double, triple crochet. This is basically you know what, I'm just gonna use a different yarn and start at the top so you guys can see this. This is basically somewhere between a double crochet and a triple crochet. It's like a happy medium. Okay, and I'll probably go over this again if there's time so you guys can see it, but just bring this through here. Okay, so what I'm doing is yarning over twice. So that's like the main important thing in knowing which stitch this is. I'm yarning over twice. I'm going into the top of the bobble stitch. So it'll be nice and big because of the way the bobbles are. So you should have no trouble like getting into that stitch. And then pull through a loop. You yarn over once, pull through the first 2 loops like you're doing a normal double crochet. Then you yarn over and then pull through the last 3 loops. So it's not quite a triple crochet, but it's kind of like a half triple crochet. And you're going to do 7 of those total. So let's drop one. So 1, 2, I'll show you what that does. Because you're going through 3 loops at the end, it kind of packs the yarn like all together at the edge and kind of gives it this extra weight on the shell. So if you're going to do a normal triple crochet and have you know, go through 2 loops and then go through 2 loops and then go through the final 2 loops, it ends up being more of a thinner kind of a little more threadbare look, which you know, it's fine if you want like really big scallops and you want kind of like this spiderwebby look, but I like the packed. Okay. it curls the, oh, light, behave. It curls the back of the shell together a little bit, and it pulls most of the yarn towards the back. So you end up with like a little bit of extra weight here on the stitch. So you have, you can see how these are curling at the end. That's because of that. But it's also, you can see the light, help out. I got this. Okay, you can see it here, how it kind of organizes. It's like increasing in texture as you go out towards the edge. So that's why I like to keep the 3 ones packed at the edge there. So yeah, and then you basically go, you know, from that corner. I mean, not counting the chain one where you start, but like just in general, you're going from that corner loop. That's where you start the shell from. This is where you'll chain your first, like the first triple crochet into at the bottom of the bobble. I should do it this way. Okay. Here you go. Sorry about this. Okay. Here's where the base of it will be crocheted into. And then once you get to the end of that shell, you'll do a single crochet into the outer loop of that chain 2 from before. And that's there. So it's just easy to get into. So I'm using the wrong one for this. Yarn over twice through that. That loop right there, as you can see. So it goes through right the top stitch of the bobble, pull through the first 2, pull through the last 3, and then do that again 6 more times for a total of 7 on the shell. And this is getting caught, so. Wow, that's impressive. How on earth? Okay. Wow. Here we go. Okay. Through. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, so that's the 7 stitches of the shell. Oh, come on. Okay, kind of see it. And then you crochet into that right there. Which, there you go. That one right there. So it's the chain 2, it's the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet cluster from that row below. A single crochet into that. Oh my. Come on. There it goes. And you end up with, you know, shell edging. There. So there you go. And then that repeats around the whole edge. This one's not prepared for that. So I'm going to take that out since I haven't finished the other row. And I could just show you on the original hat what happens at the end. Just take this out. Okay. Since I think we have a ways to go on the video, but it's still the same thing there. And yeah, I apologize on the video for quite a lot of it. I was like arguing with the yarn. It was like moving all over the table and like not being helpful for filming. So sorry if it's like I'm stopping and you're like, what's going on? Hopefully it's fine. Okay. I'm ironing my backing as we speak. I have my laptop on my ironing board. Be careful. Mistakes are bad when things like that happen. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad you're happy. That's important. Making your space nice is like when you have it all set right, it's really life-changing. I've got like 5 projects here. This is insane. Cool. And he's quiet now. I wonder if like he actually went to bed and he was just like, I am so tired. I'm done waiting for you. Actually, I'm honestly surprised he didn't come over and start like bopping my face, since he does that if he's like really impatient about something. Okay, so this is actually a different hook than the one I did this with. I guess I misplaced everything. Okay. So I am getting close to the. Oh, I'm about a third of the way through, or 2/3 of the way through on the video. So I'll start to show you now, since you guys can get it. When you get to the end, so just because of the nature of crochet, it kind of, when you end your rows, it kind of will slant a little bit, and it'll be one of 2 directions. Because we are slip stitching into the first stitch of the next row, the top of the first stitch of the next row, and going around that way. When we close, I'm sorry, because we're stitching into that, slip stitching into that first stitch, and then starting our new stitch in that same stitch, it helps to keep the slant of the work from being too far that way. It's a little bit more like this, but there will be a little bit of wobble. It's hard to get it like exactly straight unless you're like really making the tension, like being very careful with all that. So when you get there, that chain 2, the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet of the last stitch will be the stitch before the stitch where you've been doing your closes, and then the chain 1 to get to the next row, and then starting. So there'll be like a little bit of a gap. So if you see this, here's where you started the chain 1, right here. That's this one. And then this here is the last single crochet of the row. The best place I find to just pull that all together is to actually slip stitch into right there. So that's it's not the chain 1 you started the row with. It's actually the same, it's like the same single crochet that you started that chain 1 with from the row below. So if you go into that row there, it pulls everything in like together and kind of neatly. So then at the next top, it's all closed. If you see that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I can try to point that out again. It's hard to see on my monitor. Okay, so it's right there where it is. And that was the first single crochet you did when you went to the rows that go around the wire. So when you get to that last thing, you single crochet into that last single crochet, chain 2, single crochet space, and then you slip stitch into that first single crochet from the row below, and then you're done. At that point, you can tighten it up, clip off your yarn. And then I'm not going to do that with this because I'm unsure whether I'm actually keeping this or if I'm going to use it for another project. A lot of times I'll like make a hat and it'll be that way for 10 years. And then I'm like, I'm not wearing that hat anymore. I'm going to pull the whole thing out and reuse the yarn to make another hat out of it. Because, yeah, I'm undecided on this one. I don't really, well, I guess I do have stuff that it matches, but I don't know yet. But when you get there, you can just, okay, we're at the end of the video. When we get there, you just flatten out the wire, clip off that stitch, pull it through, tie it off, bury the thread, and you're done. That's pretty much it. And I think we only have like 15 minutes left, so that used up the whole thing. So that's a hat. Have a hat, everyone. And yeah, these are cute sized. If you want to make one that fits your Usakumya, I only have like 2 sizes of Usakumyas, and they're small. So there's no problem with this fitting, but he does have like a wide head, so you might want to take that into account. Like measure the brim as you're going, like before you, or measure the point as you're going before you get to the brim stage, and see if you're like got it. But I'm sure it's easy. He'll probably sit more on the back since it's like an oval. Yeah. Eco queen. I mean, it's more like I'm drowning in supplies too, so it's like I really shouldn't buy anything. But yeah, like why not use old stuff? Like it's there. It's easy. Like, and yeah, it's like there's fibers are just, it's kind of a crazy situation with the way everything is. So you know, bug out and don't do it. But yeah, like sometimes you can't find a yarn that matches what you want. And you have one from that's like in a sweater that you don't wear anymore. And you're like, well, if it's worth, if no one's ever going to wear this sweater, might as well use it for something and take the yarn out. You might want to do some research if you do that, because different yarns need to be treated differently when they are taken out of being in a form for a number of years. Sometimes you need to steam them, especially if it's like cotton or wool, to get them to like relax. Sometimes you can do that in a microwave. You can like lay the yarn out in like a big loose ring, put like a bowl of water in the middle of it, and like microwave it, and it'll relax by the time you're done. And then once you let it air out and everything, you can like rewind it to a loose ball and go from there. But there are resources online on how to do that. I think I actually learned a lot of my stuff from books, but they're online now. So you should be good. And yeah, does anyone have any questions? Is anyone like stitching right now and stuck somewhere? Or anything at all? Like really, I just want you guys to have your hats and like be happy. So this is good. I think I've pretty much covered everything. Thank you. Yeah, it just I don't know, sometimes it just, you see something, you see the potential in it, and you just want to like like, I get so tired of looking for new stuff all the time too. Oh, by the way, hi Camille. Oh man, yeah, I mean, definitely, like I understand that pain. I For the longest time I had like stuff that I was separated from, and I was like, I have the urge to finish this. I have the motivation right now, but I don't have the actual content. And you just want to like take care of it. But like yeah, the best thing I could say to that is like, I mean, you can always just like draw what you want to do if you are at all like good with drawing. Just like keep your idea that way. I have like a sketchbook that just has like random doodles in it that's like, I'm thinking of this thing right now. And then you have it on paper and you don't need to keep it like loaded in your brain. And like when you're going about your day, you have like less to sort through other than like, oh, this idea that was always there. So like, or even just like a notepad that's like words that's like, don't forget this and that. Because I've also done that where I've went over and I could totally have picked up my stuff and I totally like forgot that, and whoops. It's like, well, I have the time. But yeah, I like it helps to like, if you have the urge, just like write it down somewhere or do something. Or yeah, I think it was Emma's panel in the last one with like either a Pinterest board or a mood board, or even like a folder on your laptop of just like pictures that are like, this will remind me about my project I'm working on, like work it through in your head as you're trying to fall asleep or something. That makes me fall asleep faster, which is sometimes great. So yeah, bird's quiet. Yeah, I don't know what else there is. We have like just under 10 minutes left. So anything else? The big hats, keeping those on your head is pretty self-explanatory. They're big enough to just like sit on your head. But I mean, oh, good. I hope you try it. Definitely show me afterwards. I'm really curious. I love the fact that you can bust these out in like under 2 hours. Like I literally was doing this one earlier today during the fashion walk, and just because I was like, oh, I haven't tried this yarn. So it's like it's that fast, and it'll be a little longer if you like add more bubbles or like change yarns. But it's not that bad. So yeah, any like head accessory or Lolita accessory that you can bust out really quick, I think is a good thing. So yeah, all right, you guys. Any questions from anyone? If something falls over here, everything's fine. Okay, well, if that's it, I guess I'll start reminding people. There's, first of all, don't forget to. What do you do if you need to stop mid hat? Oh, well, here's a great example. I have stopped mid hat. Usually, anytime I'm doing a project, because a lot of times I'll be doing this just to use up some time when I'm waiting somewhere for a long time. I often have to like wait to pick up friends and cars, so it's a lot of time. What I do is, like, say you're crocheting. I try not to end on a stitch like the bobble, for example. Like that one's a little complicated. You want to keep your tension kind of even. But if I've gotten to the single crochet and I'm like, well, okay, I need to go, I just pull the thread like way through. And if I'm going to be somewhere like that's enough for right here and the table, since I could just put it down and get up. But if I'm going somewhere where this is getting shoved in a bag, I'm running around pre-pandemic, if I'm hopping from bus to bus or something like really active, I take the yarn, and you don't want to do this too tight, but I do this kind of like knot where I cross it over this way. I pull that single part through, and then it's kind of like a slip stitch or a slip knot. So I do it like that, and that pretty much holds it. As long as I do that, and then there's yarn everywhere now. Okay. I take my working yarn, please ignore the white yarn that's stuck on it right now, and then I'll just like shove it into the project, and then like collapse the project and put it in whatever bag I'm using like with me. I'll usually keep a smaller bag on me for like just the project, and then it'll go in there, and then I'll just shove that in my real bag and then go running. And then when I need to pick it up back again, this will pretty much hold on to everything. It won't really unravel. And the thing to keep in mind too is that like it doesn't really matter if it does unravel too much, but you just pull on the main yarn that goes to the skein. That undoes the knot, and then you can stick your hook back in that loop here, the big one that you pulled through, and then pull that tight again. And if it's changed the tension on that stitch that was just before it where you did the knot, you can just back up and redo that stitch if you're not happy with the way it looks. And it's just one stitch, it's not a big deal. And then you can just keep going. So yeah, that's what I usually do. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Don't be afraid to take crochet around. It's so forgiving. Like, yeah, like smush it. It's fine. Yeah, and that's a great way to use time. And it requires no power. So like if you're stuck in a power outage or, without Wi-Fi or something, you're like, yay, here it is. So yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, you're welcome. And if there's any other questions, just feel free to hit me up either on Discord or my Instagram is probably it'll get dropped somewhere. But yeah, like I check it. I check the Discord. So if you hi, he is back. Okay. Came just in time for closing. Yeah, I'll check the Discord. So if you have questions, feel free to pop up there too. Yeah, there he is. Okay, so I guess first of all, enjoy the rest of the panels. There have been some really good ones so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to the panel that's after this one, the vampire influence one. I definitely am going to pull out my Toreador clan book and then sit in my yeah. It's going to be a fun time. And then again, with the if you haven't voted for the fashion contest, which I still need to do too, and I can't make up my mind, definitely do that. I think you have to do it before. Probably best to do it before the tea party tomorrow if you can. But I think you have to do it before closing ceremonies. And yeah, there's the ACLU fundraiser to do if you haven't done. I was, the ACLU was awesome. So I'm really happy we're doing that. And I guess that's it. I don't know what else there is to say. Make crochet stuff. Let's be a giant coven. Everyone wear your hats.